Good evening. It's very nice to see all of you here tonight. My name is Barbara Axmacher, and I am the Executive Director of the Watch Hill Conservancy. On behalf of the Board of Directors and our staff, I would like to welcome you to the historic Lanphear livery and the Conservancy's beautiful community gathering space, the Chaplain B. Barnes Reading Room. Before we move on to tonight's presentation, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our 2024 community programming sponsors. This year, we were fortunate to have 17 businesses and families agree to sponsor our work. Their support helps defray the cost of our reading room public programming, our general educational programming, as well as the care and maintenance of this meeting space. Please join me in putting our hands together to thank these generous sponsors. Additionally, I would like to also acknowledge the efforts of our staff, Daniel Cole, Becky Wilson, Tommy Papadia, and Chris Polinsky, as well as our volunteers this evening, Annika and Katie. Their assistance is critical to the success of our Lanphear live presentations. Finally, I invite you to please visit the livery atrium after the presentation to view the beautiful photo exhibit, Watch Hill through the lens of Edward N. Burdick, Edwin A. Schofield, and George B. Bishop, a compilation of over 50 historic Watch Hill images taken at the turn of the century. And now I turn the mic over to President and Chief Science Advisor of the Watch Hill Conservancy, Dr. Peter August.
Barbara, thank you. It's a real pleasure for me tonight to introduce our speaker, Amanda Wallack. Located in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, Edesia is a nonprofit social enterprise that makes life-saving, ready-to-use foods to help malnutrition in children. Our speaker tonight is a seasoned fundraising professional. Amanda Wallack joined the Edesia team in 2019 as the Director of Development. Under her leadership, Edesia completed a capital campaign and secured a transformative 9-figure gift from the Bezos family, which will significantly enhance the organization's ability to combat global malnutrition, which Amanda is going to tell you all about tonight. Before her tenure at Edesia, Amanda served as a Director of Major Gifts at Horizons for Homeless Children in Boston, Massachusetts, furthering its mission to support homeless children and their families. Amanda's strong commitment to philanthropy and community service is reflected in her successful fundraising endeavors and dedication to making a positive impact. She has a Bachelor of Science degree from Syracuse University and resides in Needham, Mass. with her husband and 2 daughters. Please join me in welcoming Amanda Wallack.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you everybody for having me. So we are here to talk about the global challenge of malnutrition. Again, I'm from Edesia. We're in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, and we are a nonprofit social enterprise that is committed to eradicating malnutrition. And I would introduce myself, but Peter just did a better job than I could do on my own. So everything he said is true. Most importantly, I would say I have 2 children, ages 3 and 6, 2 girls. And everything that we do at Edesia is really focused on children. So this is really, really, really personal for me. Every time I look at my children, I have flashes of the children that we're serving. And I just absolutely cannot imagine a world in which I couldn't provide them with the basic human right of nutrition. So it's really, really personal for me and my team, and we're really passionate. So I'm gonna show a medium length video to take you guys to the field to really show you our work in action. We're gonna follow 2 of our employees, Freeman Somerville and Andrew Kamara, who are both former refugees, and they are going back to their respective homelands of Liberia and Sierra Leone to see our work in action. And Freeman, who you'll be introduced to like in the first minute of the video, who's one of the stars, unfortunately passed away last week. So I wasn't sure if I was going to show a video, and now I really wanted to show the video and just pay honor to him because he was just such an absolute rock star.
My name, Freeman Somerville. I work with Edesia, senior blender who make the food and save life.
At Edesia, our focus is really all about malnutrition and looking at ways that we can treat and prevent in the world's most vulnerable populations. We manufacture a product called RUTF, which is a ready-to-use therapeutic food. It's a peanut paste that's mixed with milk powder, vegetable oil, sugar, and most importantly, vitamins and minerals. One of my favorite things to do in the whole world is come to the field to see firsthand how the work that we're doing is impacting people on the ground. So we decided on this trip to surprise Freeman, who was a refugee from Liberia, and bring him back to his country for the first time in decades. He left during the war and hasn't been able to return since.
My name is Andrew Kamara. I was born and raised in Sierra Leone. I joined Edesia as the distribution logistics manager.
I always see an extra bright light in his eyes when we're shipping to Sierra Leone or West Africa. I wanted to bring Andrew back to his country and allow him to see the impact that he's making.
Wow. LIV. Oh, you brought me to LIV. Oh. Oh, yeah. Shit, yes. When we got at the airport, and I look at that spot, it was too horrible, it was sorrowful to me. You know, I said, this is the place when I go, my family, the dead body were all here. Oh, yeah.
We've shipped to about 46 countries, and we're really dealing with countries that are fairly poor to begin with, but have an emergency on top, whether it's a refugee situation, it's an earthquake, it's a drought, a war, where we've got a really elevated level of crisis where children and their families need support. Any kids here right now that are... We'll go check. She looks so tiny. She does not look well. Is she bringing her here because she's sick?
The child is not well, so that's why they came and cleaned it.
Her hair is blonde. Not a lot of energy, her eyes are closed. See how weak her cry is? Seven pounds. This little girl is 8 months old. She weighs about 7 pounds, which is how much one of my daughters was at birth. Ten. Yep, so she qualifies. We have stocks here, so. We have to see if she has the strength now to be able to eat something. Take a little bite. Little bite. Yeah, that's good. You know, the fact that she can eat this is really a great sign. Her mom's brought her here in time, but I guess she's come from really far away to get here. So I'm glad she made the long walk because she'll be okay.
In Sierra Leone, there's no informative sessions coming from the government to know what they need to do to change their lives. For you to know how to really care for someone, you really need to get that information from somewhere. And they need that support so desperately. Radio plays a huge role.
In the heart of Freetown.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Sky Radio team, we would like to welcome you to our studios. Could you start by telling us what's the passion behind you setting up such an organization?
Malnutrition is something that we really know how to prevent. What we need to do more of is communicating to mothers what should they be feeding their kids, what will make them the healthiest that they can be. The most important component is really getting out to the rural areas. Community health workers are trained to go house by house and look for children who are severely malnourished and let those mothers know that we have a solution and it's really easy. And most of the time, if your child doesn't have complications, they're able to go home with their mothers. And for me, that's one of my favorite parts because you're empowering mothers. Oh my goodness. Okay, you might win the cute prize. What's your name?
She's Titito.
Titito. You know how old she is? 7 months. 7 months. And she's sick?
Yeah.
See how her coloring is off too, right?
Community worker did send her here several times, and she did refuse. She refused on so many occasions because they had their own belief. People told her that it was sore in the stomach. She refused because she was listening to what the people told her. So, it led to the death of the first one.
And so she lost one of her twins.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear, you know, when you've missed one, right? So, especially when they're twins. So I know what that's like having twins. I can't imagine losing one. You can't imagine.
It's the child started on the program.
Okay, so this one's on RUTF now?
Yeah.
How long?
It's like 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we almost lost it. When she brought the baby here, the child was not looking like this. The child was that off. You see the tail bones?
Just 3 weeks ago.
I mean, everything about how it was like declining.
So she came in at 3.7 kilograms, so about almost 8 pounds. And she gained 0.3 and then 0.4 each week she's been gaining. And her appetite test, you did good. Very good.
That's an achievement for us. For now.
This is my village. This is where my grandfather came from.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I understand the urgency of the situation on the ground. In their eyes, desperation for a better life. They are looking at us and say, help us. You see kids that are dying. And you look at that poor baby, all you see is desperation. You know that that kid doesn't have to go that way. There's hope. It's just unfair. I mean, I have children myself, and I can't imagine what it's like to just see them fade to death like that. You see when you come back and you see how far we've come with these children.
It's good. Yes. Yeah.
It's finally good to see that our hard work is bearing fruit. You don't have to be rich to really touch a life here. That child can grow up to be a future leader of this country that can change the scope of everyone else. With all these kids that are lined up here, there's a good number of them that are going to make it. And I want to be there every step of the way.
All right, so we're Edesia. We make specialized foods. Here they are, some of them. So they are ready to eat in a packet. We are literally a manufacturing facility. We operate every single day, 24 hours a day, making these products. In recent years, we've doubled our capacity. So we used to make enough products to reach 2.5 million children every year. We're now at 5, and we continue to expand and increase. And I know that video is really depressing and sad and hard to watch all of those children. So I just want to point out one child that you met in the video. So TT Toe, she was the one that was a twin. I don't know if everybody heard her story, but her mom was basically told for probably upwards of 6 months that the malnutrition clinics were witchcraft, that they weren't real, they weren't going to help her, that her child had a sore in her stomach, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, her twin passed away. TT did not. And that's TT. Last year, she flew from Liberia to meet our team in Sierra Leone when we were there. That's TT and her mom. She is now 6 years old. She is thriving. She is sassy. I was getting like 10 pictures a day of this girl running around. And she really looks like a kid that's going to take the world by storm. So, you know, I think a lot of the time people say, how do you think about approaching work like this? There's 45 million children across the globe that are malnourished. It's unreachable. We can't do that, right? The problem is too big, like so many other problems in this world. And I know what I always think about and what my team always thinks about is, well, what if that one child that was malnourished was your neighbor or your friend or your family, right? Does it matter that there's 45 million children? What about that one child? What about who's TT gonna be? She looks like she's gonna take the world by storm to me. So thank God that we were able to reach her, and we really, you know, believe that we can reach every child across the globe. So, actually, you probably saw in the video that every time children were getting measured, they were using this tape that I put on a bunch of chairs. And she was 10 centimeters. So I just thought it might be an interesting activity for you all. If you put the end of the green in the first loop and pull through until you see 10 centimeters on the arrow, that is the size of the middle upper arm. So it's a muectip middle upper arm circumference. It's about the size of, I don't know if anybody's wearing a watch on their wrist, the face of your watch, a little bit bigger than a quarter. It is frighteningly small. And I just think it's a very good depiction of the kinds of children that we are dealing with. So understanding malnutrition. Malnutrition occurs when children don't have access to the nutrients that they need. They're much too thin for their size. Stunting, another form of malnutrition, occurs and they're much too short for their size. And one thing that we really pay a lot of attention to is that cognitive development. So it's really important that the nutrition is happening during the first 1,000 days of life. So that's considered conception to age 2. And if you think about here in the US, if any of you have children, right, like the importance of all the right prenatal vitamins, and then your child's born and you're either nursing or giving formula, but that's not enough, right? I remember with my own children, I was supplementing with vitamin D and they were getting checked for iron and all of these things because your brain is growing during that time. So if you don't have access to these nutrients that are going to build your brain, then not only is your body slowing down, but your brain is slowing down too. And then even if you survive, you know, you're not going to be able to be a helpful part of society if you didn't get that cognitive development that you needed. So that's what we do. We reach those children, we provide those essential nutrients. And yeah, it affects their ability to survive, thrive, and reach their full potential. So the causes of malnutrition, the contributors of malnutrition, we often think about the 3 C's these days. So conflict, climate change, and COVID. Those have been extreme exacerbators of malnutrition. Also, of course, it's access to healthcare and a healthy diet, poverty. You know, you look around the world right now, I don't know if any of you feel like the world is in a good place, but I think many of us feel like it's a little chaotic and crazy and we don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. You look at places like Sudan, Haiti, Gaza, all dealing with extreme conflict. We think about the Sahel and the horrible droughts that have occurred over the past few years, access to crops. All of these things are causing widespread famine and malnutrition, making everything worse. So here's some numbers. 47 million children across the globe, and that is a very conservative number, are suffering from acute malnutrition. So that's the number that we think about when we talk about MAM, which is moderate acute malnutrition, and SAM, severe acute malnutrition. So again, too thin for their size. When we think about stunting, so again, too short, the numbers are closer to 120, 130 million. 1 in 2 deaths that occur are attributed to malnutrition in children under 5. And 100% of these deaths are preventable, right? Like we know exactly what to do to help these children. Just some other stats that aren't on this, but I thought are really worthwhile to bring up. Every 11 seconds, a child dies from malnutrition. So during this presentation alone, I just did the math before I got here, 327 children will die across the globe from malnutrition, from something that we know how to fix that is not a very expensive thing to do. And these children are 11 times more likely to die than their healthy counterparts. When I think about malnutrition and my work, again, I told you all that I have 2 children, and that's really what I think about, and you know, the children that we're serving. So I wanted to show a couple of slides from a recent trip that I took myself and kind of talk you through the situations that these children were under. So I was in Guatemala in March, and Guatemala is a country that suffers from very severe stunting. So I'm 5'1", I'm small, and it wasn't until like 12 hours into my trip that I looked at one of my colleagues and I was like, oh my God, like I'm not short here. And that's a problem because I'm pretty short. So that's a big issue. It's not that these families don't have access to food. In many cases, they don't have access to food, but in a lot of the cases, they just don't have access to healthy food or a diverse diet. So this first child, Just to give everybody a little bit of background, we arrived at the home, if you can call it that, after driving probably an hour down windy roads, impossible mountains. I mean, this place was hard to get to. And we looked at this, again, home, if you can call it that, and there were 2 rooms. There was a bedroom and there was a kitchen. The kitchen had 1 burning stove to just boil water. That's it. No oven, no refrigerator, no freezer. So you think about some of the healthy foods in your own homes probably, and a lot of them need those things, right? No plumbing, no bathroom, none of those things. 1 bedroom, it was 4 like bottles holding up a wooden plank with a thrown on blanket, no pillows. Mom is 32 years old, they have 5 children. I'm 37. I can't tell you how many times a day I tell my husband, like, I need a break. My kids are making me crazy. I can't be a good mom if I don't have 5 minutes to just like breathe, calm down. I don't want to scream at them, right? Like I need to take a walk. They are 7 people that sleep in 1 bedroom on a wooden plank, right? Like we don't have problems here. These are problems. So this child is getting his arm measured, and I gotta tell you, the people in Guatemala are the kindest people I have ever met. Like despite the challenges that these families go through, all smiles. Every home that we walked into, they pulled over some version of a chair and asked everybody to sit down. I mean, they don't let these real challenges get to them. So it was pretty incredible. This one, you can see a toy in the background. I think I have a pointer, but you all can probably see it. So there's a toy in the background. This family was a little wealthier. They had a couple of rooms, I'm not sure exactly how many. And they even had a store in the front of their home. So they had a convenience store. So we walked in, this little boy's 1.5 years, and guess what he was eating? Potato chips and a bottle of Coca-Cola. So we're thinking about that diverse diet problem, right? Like they have access to food, some version of it, right? They have a little bit of money, but they don't even have the education to know that that's not a healthy choice. So what's also really incredible about these programs is that the community health workers are bringing some level of education, right? So they were showing index cards. One had a picture of potato chips and one had a picture of a banana. And if you had the same amount of money, what's the healthier option? So really providing that education so that they can help their children with those diverse diets. These children really stole my heart. So a single mom, she has these 2 boys. The one on the right, so the smaller boy right here, he's 4 years old and he weighs 20 pounds. My 1.5-year-old weighed 20 pounds, and I had to go for like extra help to get nutrition counseling for my child because they were too thin in the United States. So that's just so problematic. The other thing that you can't really tell in this picture, but to note, is that without a diverse diet, not only does your like weight and your cognitive ability and your height all get transformed in a horrible way, but their teeth were completely rotted. And you know, it's one thing to think about the look, right? That's a bad look. Your teeth are rotten. But the pain that can occur from these diseases and the decay is just astronomical. So this was really heartbreaking. So not all heroes wear capes. This is one woman who benefited from our products and decided it was so important to find other families to enroll in this program that she walks around her community, and this is the community. We were parked at the bottom of this hill. So she's walking down windy roads with her child to identify other families that can benefit from our products. So the family in the last slide, this one, was one of the families that she helped identify. So I just think she's just such a rock star, incredible woman. All right, so our approach to solving malnutrition. So we do treatment and prevention and think about the moms And we have a very robust R&D department that's constantly reformulating or thinking about populations that we're not reaching. The products are matched up, color coordinated with the boxes that they are sold in, and also the MUAC tape. So we really try to be a system that's really easy for families to understand, for community health workers to understand. There's a lot of different languages that are spoken all around the world, so it has to be easy. The red product coincides with severe acute malnutrition, so it's ready-to-use therapeutic food. Children are prescribed 3 a day for anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks on average, and the cure rate is 92%, assuming that there's no other complications. So really, really, really highly effective products. The orange and the yellow product are used for moderate malnutrition, so ready to use supplementary food. The green product is a prevention product for children, and then the purple products are for moms, both malnourished moms and just regular pregnant and lactating moms. And then we also have a product that's not in that picture that's for school children. So it's Nutri-School, and it's like a snack in an area where healthy foods aren't as easily accessible. We're really trying to push prevention more, which you'll hear about, but we feel very strongly that waiting until a child is on the brink of death, like literally days away, is not a humane way to approach something that we know how to prevent. So we need to say we understand that we need to treat severe acute malnutrition. We can't stop doing that. And we also need to think about all these other children and not let them get to that point. It is just not a humane thing to do. Imagine walking into a doctor's office in the United States and saying, "Oh, doctor, my left arm is killing me. It's numb. I can't feel it. I'm having really severe chest pain and I'm having a hard time breathing." And the doctor says, "You know what? Come back when you're a little sicker and we'll see what we can do." Right? Like, this is just not a way that we can be approaching malnutrition. So we're really trying to push prevention. So RUTF, short acronym, big impact. Thinking about the way that malnutrition used to be treated, it used to be treated very similarly to like a formula in the United States. It was a powder that you mixed with clean water. A child would have to be admitted into a hospital, so they would need a bed. They would need access to clean water, and there was only enough room for as many children could fit in that hospital. Also, you think about a family like one of the families that we met in Guatemala that has 5 children. If she is bringing one of her children to a hospital clinic and having the child admitted, who's taking care of the other 4 children when her husband is likely working in the farm, trying to make ends meet for their family? It was not a sustainable way to treat malnutrition, and it was expensive and you couldn't reach a lot of children. So a company in France called Nutriset invented Plumpy Nut, which is RUTF, and it is shelf stable, has a shelf life of 2 years, ready to eat. One of the most important things, like Navin talked about, who's our founder and CEO, is it gives agency back to a mom or a dad, and their ability to feed their own child. Like, imagine the guilt that you might feel if you couldn't provide that basic human right to your child. So really providing that agency back to say, I can do this for my child, I can do it myself, is enormous. And it's chock full of vitamins, minerals, sugar, oil, milk powder, soy, peanuts, etc. So basic commodities that we can find. And it's very inexpensive. It costs less than $45 to save the life of one child. So just an example of a dad feeding his child Plumpy Nut and how easy it is to just eat right out of the packet. We also find that many community health workers ask the families to bring back the empty packets after they've consume them for a week, so that they can say, look at a growth chart and say, ooh, you're not gaining weight. Is the product going to another family member? Is it being sold on the black market? Is there something else going on? Do you have malaria? Do you have TB? Is there a reason that you're not gaining weight? And really be able to have proof of concept in that way. So we saw some of the befores in the video, and we really try not to show too many befores because we try to protect our children and our families, but we do think it's important. So this is Seneca. She's in Haiti. She lost her mom to tuberculosis. Her dad brought her to a clinic. On the left-hand side, you can see obviously she's extremely sick. You can see her bones, her hair is brittle, her hair is discolored. And the picture on the right is 3 months later. So a complete transformation. I mean, the smile on her face is like enough, right? Like you don't even have to look at the fact that she's plumper and that her hair is better and her skin is better and all of those things. Her smile says it all. This is that preventative product, just a quick picture that we're really trying to do more of. So this is a girl in Venezuela. All right, let's talk about our team. So we're 150 people. We come from 26 different countries. So we think that our diversity and our stories and our uniqueness is what makes us special and sets us apart. And so we really try to hire from within the former refugee population as often as we can. Our team has stories of being on a bus and being stopped by ISIS, of being in refugee camps and seeing our products in action, of surviving on our products. So our team can tell the story and advise us better than anyone with any amount of experience can do. We're from all over the globe, from Syria, from Sierra Leone, from Chad, from Somalia, you name it, we probably have a team member from that country. I traveled to Guatemala with somebody from Guatemala. She left Guatemala and traveled by ocean and foot for more than 2 months, literally walking to the United States to escape. So the stories that we hear are just incredible. Since 2010, we've reached over 24 million children. We're really, really close to 25 million, actually. The other day I saw it said 24.8. So we feel really proud of that. Our partners and how we work. So I mentioned we're a nonprofit social enterprise. So we partner with humanitarian aid giants, UNICEF, the World Food Program, USAID, USDA. And the way that it works most of the time is that these agencies are in the field, they have clinics, they're monitoring numbers, understanding where needs are the greatest, and coming to producers like Edesia to say, we need X amount of product for this country in this amount of time. Outside of that process, we also do traditional fundraising. So again, I'm the director of development, so I do all things fundraising related. An example of something that we fundraise for is sending in-kind donations to countries that aren't within the UN system, aren't safe, have gaps in their programming. So there's a very famous doctor named Dr. Tom Katenya. He's in the southern Sudan in the Nuba Mountains. He has a catchment area of 2 million people. It is simply too dangerous for a UNICEF or a World Food Program to be there. It's impossible. So we have a donor that gives to us every single year, and as a result, we're able to send a donation to his hospital every single year. Without us, he would have no product to be able to serve those children. So again, we manufacture those products in Rhode Island. We ship to, this is 62 countries, we're actually 65 countries right now. Our logistics team is incredible. When you think about the Nuba Mountains, for example, there is one road that leads to the hospital, one road. So in rainy season, when it's completely flooded, you can't get there. The trucks are completely stuck in the road. So our logistics team is thinking around the clock, when's the right time to be able to ship? How do we ensure that there aren't stockouts? Even thinking recently, we've been trying to ship to Gaza. We're trying by ship. We're trying different ports. We're trying air. We're trying everything. And our logistics team is working around the clock to be able to do that. You think back to COVID, which feels like it was an eternity now. Shipping ports were completely full, right? You couldn't get into a shipping container. What used to be a booking that was like a 2-day booking was taking 6 weeks to be able to get a booking. So thank God that we have this incredible team that's able to really make sure that we get our products where they need to be. Okay, another thing that sets us apart is our global reach. So within the manufacturing world of our products, there's 22 different manufacturers. 2 of them are in the United States, us and an organization called MANA. We're both nonprofits. And then we are a part of what's called the Plumpy Field Network. So we are a part of 10 producers across the globe. You can see that many of them are in the global south. And we work together. We're not owned by each other. We are simply partners that share best practices, that help each other in times of need. So most of our partners, other than our partner in Haiti, are all for-profit companies. Nonprofits just don't function in Sudan the way that they do here. And so I actually help with fundraising, and I try to raise money for them so that while we're increasing our capacity, they're increasing their capacity too. We believe really firmly that when possible, products should come from the global south, should come from the communities that malnutrition is occurring in, but that a lot of the time the United States is the safer option for security, for consistency. Our partner that was in Sudan was bombed. They don't exist anymore. They had to set up temporary shop in Egypt. So that's what that Egypt factory is about. So we really believe in that healthy balance. And we supply over 52% of the world's supply as a network. In the future of Edesia. So it was mentioned before that we secured a very large grant from the Bezos family, which was incredible, and is earmarked to do a lot of good. So the first thing that it's earmarked to do is expand our capacity. So we're going to be building a warehouse on site so that we can just have more control over all of our products. We're going to be doing a lot of vertical integration. So a lot of our raw materials right now are stored in these enormous super sacks that take up tons of space. So we'll be putting in lots of silos that are actually outside of the facility so that they don't take up special internal space in the manufacturing plant. And we can bring product in much larger bulk. So it's a lot less expensive. And better sustainability. So we'll be bringing a rail line to our facility and trying to bring product in by rail as often as we can, and ship it out by rail as well to the ports. We're really trying to increase our voice as far as advocacy is concerned. So we are in DC all the time. We're part of tons of networks that say we need sustainable funding. We need to say, if funding is X this year, it needs to be at least X next year, if not Y. We can't go backwards, which we're seeing a little of right now. There was a huge influx of funding in 2022, and right now that funding isn't what it needs to be. So we can't, have this momentum and then say, actually, not gonna happen anymore. We're focusing very much so on prevention, on saying we cannot wait until a child is on the verge of death. We need to prevent malnutrition from happening in the first place. So we are, doing campaigns that talk about prevention, why it's important, and we're also increasing our capacity to make preventative products. We're trying to think really creatively about, if you buy 1 box of RUTF, we'll give you 1 box of preventative product, really trying to push the industry into understanding how important it is. And we are seeing a lot of momentum as far as prevention is concerned, so that's exciting. And then we're doing a lot of innovation and thinking about how to partner with all of these other incredible organizations all over that are doing incredible work. So right now we just provided a grant to an organization that is going to give a preventative product to everybody who comes in for malaria treatment, for example, and thinking about where diseases intertwine and how we can do more as a community. What did I miss? I don't think anything. I think I said it all. So now if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So the question was, how does Edesia handle the counseling and outreach part of the whole cycle to get their story out?
Yeah, so The way that our model works is, I would say about 95% of what we do, depends on the year, is provide product to the UNICEFs, the World Food Programs, the USAIDs of the world, and their programs are responsible for whatever level of counseling or education they're doing in their unique clinics. In some of those cases, like the Dr. Toms of the world, where we're actually donating product to NGOs, we have a little bit more control, for lack of a better word, over, you know, the research that we want to see back, the reporting that we want to see back. So we have a much more intimate relationship with those NGOs to say, you know, can you talk to the families about X or Y? But really, we're the producers of the product, not the implementers of the product. So it's a little bit of a challenge, and I think this funding is giving us a little bit more of a stage or an ability to say, this is how we believe, you know, we should approach these things. These are the things that we think are really important, and however we can help move the needle, we want to do that. But yeah, it is really run by the individual community health workers.
What's the annual budget and how variable is it based on donations? So the folks in the back can
Yeah. So it's a lot more variable based on the government than it is based on donations. We're pretty good at having like a healthy donation stream. So we try to raise $5 to $6 million a year fundraising wise. Again, that gives us the ability to send these in-kind donations, to invest in our equipment, to think about our R&D, our innovation, general overhead, et cetera. The real variable when it comes to funding is the funding that we get from the government. So again, you know, the way that it works is UNICEF, USAID, World Food Program puts out a tender to whichever manufacturers. It's a traditional bidding process where they say, you know, we need X, Y, Z metric tons for Chad, and we need it at this time. And all the producers that are eligible will say, we have this product, we can make it in this amount of time, and it's going to cost this amount of money. And that's how it's determined who wins or loses those bids. And again, it depends on how much money is in the government and how much is in those systems as to how much business and how much work we're doing. So the government's not always the best at giving us predictions or telling us how much product is going to be needed. We're often told very last minute. We're in the emergency business, so you a lot of the time see situations where it's all of a sudden like, we need all of your product yesterday, unfortunately.
Sir.
You do all your own manufacturing, I think you said?
Yeah.
Do they do all their own manufacturing?
Is there any possibility of partnering with other manufacturers or schools to increase how you're doing it?
So we do partner with other manufacturers. So again, we're a part of this network of 10 manufacturers across the globe. So we have partners in, again, Egypt, Madagascar, Haiti, India, France, etc. And so we, again, you know, we share best practices. We try to make sure that product is coming from whichever manufacturer makes sense for that situation. So, you know, if there's an extreme crisis in Haiti right now, if Haiti can handle manufacturing the product, we want Haiti to manufacture the product and get it there the fastest. If they can't, we might step in and intervene and try to fill that gap. And that's part of why we're expanding our capacity. You know, I think we believe that even if the funding isn't there, that we should be reaching all of these children, and we're going to find a way to do it.
What's the shelf life of your products?
2 years, the shelf life of our product. Yeah, it's 2 years. And part of our like R&D situation, we have an incubator in our R&D, which I always point out on tours, and I welcome anybody to come to our facility and take a tour. It's really, really cool. But it's an incubator that heats up, and we, you know, put the product in, and we take it out 2 years later and make sure that it's still filled with those nutrients that are needed. So we're really testing products and making sure that that's there.
Once a child's identified as needing assistance, how long do they typically stay in? And are they guaranteed to be part of the program until they're here?
Yeah. I would say it's a complicated question. So again, the programs are run by UNICEF or community health workers, other NGOs, INGOs that are around the globe. It's really up to them to make sure that the children stay in the program and that they're stocked up enough that there isn't a situation where a family is walking, they walk days, miles. You don't want a situation where they show up and there's no product available. So you really have to be a sustainable clinic to make sure that children are coming back. Average treatment for RUTF is a good example. So that's the ready-to-use therapeutic food. That's for SAM, severe acute malnutrition. It's from 6 to 8 weeks is the treatment period. And one of the programs that we're actually making a grant to right now as far as innovation is to then provide NutriButter, so the smaller preventative product, to those children after they exit the SAM treatment to see if it helps and makes any cases of relapse not occur. So we're doing a lot of work in that area.
The question was, other than peanuts, what are the ingredients of these products?
Yep. So peanuts, soy, milk, oil, sugar, vitamins and minerals. I think that's it. And our R&D department reformulates a lot of the time. So our products are basic commodities, but I'm sure, the same way that I walk into a grocery store and what used to cost me $5 to buy a box of strawberries now costs me 10. Same with a lot of our products. So we try to make sure we have standards that are set by World Health Organization, and our products have to meet those standards. But how we get there to a certain extent is up to us. So our R&D department will say, if we put slightly less peanuts and more soy, do we reach that same objective, but it costs less and therefore we can reach more children? So we try to play around and make sure that we have the most cost-effective formula at any given time. And I did leave some samples out there with little spoons, so if you're interested in trying the product, be my guest. It kind of tastes like the inside of a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's really sweet. Just because these children are sick doesn't mean that they don't have taste buds, and so it has to be something that they'll eat, right, and that they want to come back to. In Guatemala, 2 different NGOs that I was working with, one called our products cookies and the other called it chocolate, which was just funny, but it's good because you want the children to want it. You want it to be palatable.
The question is, so many children have allergies for peanuts and soy. Is that a challenge and a complication to get these products in?
No. I mean, that's the short and sweet answer. We don't see allergies across the globe the same way that we do in the United States. And I think, we'll see what happens as we move to early and often, which is the new protocol in the United States. So it used to be, avoid allergens as much as possible, is now 4 months old. The minute that your child is ready for solids, start introducing peanuts and do it every week for, eternity. So we'll see if there's any change here.
The question had to do with issues with teeth, and are there things in the product that help mitigate?
Yeah, well, there's no fluoride in our product. And I don't know the answer to that is the short answer, which I'm always happy to admit. It was just something that I really noticed walking around Guatemala, that everybody's teeth were really horrid. Yeah.
So the question was, the product creates a lot of packaging that has to be disposed with, and the gentleman has traveled extensively in the third world, and litter and that sort of thing is an issue. And how does Edesia handle that?
Yeah, so I noticed that too. It was really, really a stark image for me getting to Guatemala, and I haven't traveled that extensively in the global south, so I agree with you. It's mostly up to the community health workers to make sure that the packets are coming back to them, and again, that's kind of part of the process to make sure that the children are actually consuming the product. So, we don't hand off a box of product and say, you're good, we're never going to check you again. We give them, or our partners, the community health workers out in the community, might give them a 1 week or a 2 week supply and say, when you come back, bring back all of the empty packets so that we can say you actually are gaining weight and you consumed the product, and we can track that. So as much as possible, we're hoping that they're disposing of the litter as much as possible.
So the question was, initially pumping up is tied to Providence. Is it still operational?
Yeah, so our first factory was actually in Tanzania, and Naven opened a factory in Tanzania. And then luck would have it that USAID told her that they needed a manufacturer in the United States, and she thought that the commute would be far less treacherous for her. So she decided to open in Providence, and we outgrew that factory. So we are now in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. The Providence factory is not operational anymore. We're strictly in North Kingstown and expanding on that site right now.
And one ultimate last question.
This is sort of a footnote. What is the situation in terms of the use of this product in any way in the United States?
Is the product used to mitigate malnutrition inside the U.S.?
Yeah, so it's not. We don't see malnutrition like our products are treating in the United States. We certainly see hunger. And for a period of time, we were making a basic peanut butter product called Miwi. And we've gone through a few processes where we were making a product for failure to thrive in adults, for failure to thrive in children, all for the United States. We had a brief partnership with Chobani where we were actually selling the product, where I don't know if any of you saw that. And then we got to a point after COVID where the rates of malnutrition were too extreme, and we had to say, like many businesses do, we got to do what we do best. And there are a lot of companies out there that can make peanut butter in the United States and that are doing a really incredible job of tackling hunger here. But there's not that many that make this really, really specialized miracle food. And so we need to spend all of our resources on doing that. And so right now we're not making anything for the United States. Doesn't mean that we might not again in the future, but that's where we stand today.
Please join me in thanking Amanda for telling us.